Welcome to lecture 11 part 1. This lecture onwards we are going to start with JavaScript. So in this lecture we will be covering the following topics: script tag, variables and operators in JavaScript. What is a script tag? The script HTML element is used to embed the executable code or data. This is typically used to embed or refer to the JavaScript code. So first of all, we need to know that what exactly is JavaScript. It's a language, it's a scripting language that helps us to work within HTML the same way as other programming languages. So this is how we insert the script tag within the head tag of the HTML. So in case if we need the code exactly inside the same HTML file, we can include the script tag within the head tag. But in case if you want to have a separate JavaScript file, in that case you can give the source script src equals to then the name of the file. The name of the JavaScript file always has an extension that is .js. Let's now first of all see how we can include the script tag. All you have to do is write the script tag within the head tag, and here you will be able to write down the code if you need the code in the same HTML file. But in case if you need a separate file, then first of all you can create a separate file from here. Let's say I'll name it as JavaScript only. You can take any name. JavaScript, I'm taking javascript.js. The extension will always be .js. And you will observe that the symbol also starts appearing here, JS. Now within this, we can write our code that needs to be used in order to make your web page interactive. Now further, if you want to use this file, javascript.js, in the HTML file, then you need to give the source. And your JavaScript will start working. Let's now start with variables. As we all know, a variable is a container for a value, like a number we might use in a sum or a string that we might use as a part of the sentence. So all that variable is just a storage. So we use a variable in order to store some value that we all know, because it's the same definition in almost all the programming languages. This is how we declare. One way is you can write var and then the name of the variable equals to some value. In case if you are including a string, then there should be inverted quotes. Or else in case if you are using an integer, then you don't have to put inverted quotes, or else it will not consider it as an integer. Another keyword is let. And the last keyword is const. Const is always used in case if you need a constant value. Now let's try out all these. Well, there are some differences among var, let and const, but they are quite in detail as compared to the scope of this syllabus. So right now we just need to understand that what exactly is a variable and how we can declare them in JavaScript. Let's declare the variable now. For the timing, I'm removing this src, and I'll tell you how you can create the variables within the script tag. I'm writing var. Now after this keyword, we need to write down the name of the variable. Let's say I'm writing name equals to, and then Manish. So what is this? This name is actually a string type variable. The data type of this name variable is string. Similarly, you can declare other variables. Let's say I'll take value, or let's say I'll take marks, where marks equals to 20. So this is integer. The variables have been declared, but we are not able to see anything on the web page. The reason is because we have not printed them yet. There are two ways to print it. One is you can either use the document.write, or you can use the console statement so that it is visible to you in the console of the browser. To check the console of your browser, right click and right click on the web page, click on inspect, and there you see this option console. So right here, console.log, this is a statement, this is a function that lets you print the values on the console of your browser. First of all, I write name, and you can see the name is visible. Similarly, you can write another console statement. For now, we are doing it separately. And here I'll write marks. So can you see marks are also printed? JavaScript is a loosely typed language. Means you do not have to specify string or integer or boolean or any other kind of data type, because JavaScript already knows that this is a string. It already knows that it's an integer. Now if you want to know what is the data type, just use a type of keyword. And you can see when you write type of name, you will be able to see that the type of this name variable is string. Similarly, you can write type of marks, and you see the type of marks is a number. In the same way, let's take another variable. I'll write here status equals to, let's say it's false. Or let's say I'll just change the variable is pass equals to false, means that the student is not pass, student is a fail right now. So we'll be using the type of this is pass variable, and you see that it is a boolean. In the same way, we have other data types, like we have null, we have undefined, object, arrays, but well, those we are not required to discuss in this lecture. All we need to understand is how to declare variables, and you must also try to understand that we don't have to specify the data types. The main focus in this lecture is on operators. The different kinds of operators to be covered in this lecture are arithmetic operators, assignment operators, comparison operators, logical operators, string operators, and conditional or ternary operator. In this lecture, we will be covering only these operators, but apart from this, in JavaScript, there are other operators as well. Considering the scope of the syllabus, we are going to discuss only these. So first one is arithmetic operators. We have remainder, increment, decrement, unary negation, unary plus, and exponentiation operator. Let's implement all these. First, we will be using all the binary operators. Binary operators means that we are having two operands. Now, first of all, we have to declare two variables as num1 and num2. We have given them values as 25 and 5 respectively. Then we have different variables as add, subtract, sub represents subtract, mul represents multiplication, div represents division, then remainder in order to get the remainder, then exp is for exponentiation. Add is a variable that we have declared that will add the two numbers. Sub will subtract one number from the other. Mul will multiply the two numbers. Divide will divide one number with the other and will give you the quotient. And remainder is going to divide one number with the other number and will give you the remainder. Exponentiation means num1 raised to the power num2. So it is represented as double asterisk. The number written before the double asterisk is the number that to which you want to apply the power. And num2, that is after the double asterisk, is the number that represents the actual power. So means that you want to have the value as num1 raised to the power num2. In other words, it's actually 25 raised to the power 5. So then later on we are printing these values, printing all these variables, add, sub, mul, div, then remainder and exp. You can see the results here. Apart from this, we also have unary operators, means for which only one operand can be used. For now, let's say if I write, I already have declared num1. If I write num1 plus plus, which is a unary operator, it's post increment. And if I write plus plus num, it means that it is pre-increment. Same way you can print the value, console dot log and then num1. Similarly, you can also use console.log. Right, so we have got the result as 26. I'm not discussing the post decrement, pre-decrement, post increment or pre-increment operators here in detail, but only to make you understand that we also have unary operators, that is increment and decrement. Next kind of operator is assignment operators. In assignment operator, the first one is assignment. So we already have used this because we are assigning the values to a variable. Then we have addition assignment. Means that instead of writing x equals to x plus this function, you can also write x plus equals to function. In the same way, for subtraction, we can use x minus equals to function instead of x equals to x minus this function. Then for multiplication as well, we have x multiplied equal to the function. For division, we have x divide sign equals to the function, and then x modulus equals to the function. Instead of function, we can also use a simple variable since we are not doing any function right now. So let's continue with the implementation. For this, already I have created 12 variables so that we can work with these assignment operators. So in total, we have 12 variables, but with the same values, that is 25 and 5. 12 variables are taken because we have to perform the assignment operators separately. So in case if we are using the same variable, the same two variables, then value will keep getting updating every time. So in case if you want to add two numbers and want to store the value in one of the two numbers, in one of the two variables, then you can write num1 plus equals to num2 instead of writing num1 equals to num1 plus num2. So this is a shorthand syntax which is applicable to all other arithmetic operators. And same way we are printing the values on the console. So for num1 plus equals to num2, the value gets stored in num1 and we are printing num1, whose value is 30 here. Similarly, we are using num3 minus equals to num4, means num3 minus num4. It will print 20 because it's subtracting num4 from num3. Then we have multiplication assignment operator. Num5 multiplied equal to num6 means num5 will be multiplied by num6 and it will be 125. Then num7 will be divided by num8 will give you 5. Then num9 will be divided by 10 and will give you remainder. It's actually modulus here. It will give you remainder, which is 0. Then finally we have this exponentiation operator, which means that you want to perform 25 raised to the power 5. Means the value will get stored in num11. Hence it will give you this value. Then we have comparison operators. This is used to compare the two operators. And the different operators that we will be using are double equal to, that checks the equality of the two variables. Then exclamation equal to, which means not equal to. You want to check that whether really they are not equal to each other. Then strict equal, which means that you want to check that whether they are equal, plus you also want to check whether their data type is also equal. Then strict not equal. You want to check that their data type is not equal and also their value is also not equal. Then we have greater than sign, where we check that whether one variable is greater than the other. Greater than equal to sign will check if one variable is greater than or equal to the other variable. Less than sign will check if one variable is less than the other variable. And the last one is less than or equal to, that checks that if one variable is less than or equal to the other variable. All these comparison operators, they always return Boolean value. It will be either true or false. So here in this, the description is also given along with the examples. Now we are going to implement these. In this example, we have two variables, num1 and num2, where we are checking in the first line whether they are equal. And yes, the result is false because they are actually not equal. So it is checking the equality, that if really they are equal or not. If I put here 25, then it will return true here because now they are equal. Let's check further. Let's get back to the value as 5 only. Then in the next line, we are checking that whether they are not equal. So which is returning true, which is correct. It means that they are actually not equal because 25 is not equal to 5. Then in the third line, we are checking their strict equality. Means that their value also needs to be equal and their data type also needs to be equal. The data type is number, but the value is actually unequal. That is why it is returning false. But in case if you write here also 25, then you will get a true here because their data type is equal and their value is also equal. Similarly, next is not equal to, strictly not equal to. So obviously in this case you will be getting true because their data type is also not matching, plus their value is also not matching. Then we are checking that if num1 is greater than num2, that we all know that yes, it is greater than num2, which will return true. Greater than equal to, num2 will also return true. Less than num2 will return false because 25 is not less than 5, it's greater. So the last two will return false value. Next is logical operator. Logical operators are typically used with Boolean, or you can say logical values. Three kinds of logical operators: and, or, and, not. So if both the expressions or multiple expressions are true, then only the overall result will be true. Even if one expression is false, then overall result will be false. In case of or, at least one expression out of the multiple expressions should be true, then it will return a true value. In case of or, it will return overall result as false only if all of the expressions are returning false. Finally, we have logical not, which is always the opposite of whatever the value we are assigning. If it's false, it will return true. If it's true, then it will return false. We have this example right now. In the first statement, we are checking the two expressions with an AND operator. The first one returns false value. The second one returns true. So if one of them is false, the other one is true, the overall result in case of AND operator will be false. It will return true only when both the expressions are true. So that is why we have another statement. 5 is greater than 4 will return true because it is greater than 4. And second statement, 6 is greater than 5, which is actually correct. Both of them are returning true, so that is why overall result will be true. Then we have OR operator, where we are using 5 is greater than 6, which is actually false. And second one is true, that is 6 is greater than 5. But one of them is true, any one expression is true, doesn't matter, even if it's one expression is false, then it will always return a true. So at least one expression needs to be true. Then further in the next line, we are having one expression as 5 greater than 5, which is false, 6 greater than 9, which is again false. So OR will always return false only when all the expressions are individually false. Hence it will return false. Then last one, we are using a NOT operator, where we are using the same expression. 5 is greater than 5, which is actually, it is not true, it's false. 6 is greater than 9 is also false. Overall result here is false, but the opposite not operator is always the opposite, so it will bring about true value in case of false, so which is the opposite of the false. Next is string operators. The concatenation operator concatenates two string values together, returning another string that is the union of the two operand strings. This is quite easy to use and we use frequently in JavaScript. If I write console.log my, we have a sentence, we have a word, we have some characters written over here, my, and then when you use plus sign, it will actually concatenate it as my string. Let's check this out. We already have these two variables declared. Let's now add them. I'll use where add equals to num1 plus num2. Now in all the previous examples, you have seen that we are not writing any meaningful statement or message. We are simply writing the name of the variable in order to log them on the console. But instead of doing it this way, you can also use the string operator, that is the concatenation operator. We can also write the addition of two numbers is, and then you can use a concatenation operator, and the result it will give you is the addition of two numbers is 30. Then finally we have conditional operator or ternary operator. The conditional operator is the only JavaScript operator that takes three operands. The operand can have one of two values based on a condition. So the syntax is, first of all, you need to write down the condition here. If this condition is true, then first value will be printed. If this condition is false, then the second value will be printed. And you must note that after the condition, we have a question mark, and there is a separation between the two values or two statements, that is with the help of colon. We already have this example here. Let's say we are using const, or you can also use var or let. Const status equals to, we are using the condition here, age greater than equals to 18. So assume that already a variable called age is declared. We are checking the condition. If the condition comes out to be true, it will print adult. If the condition doesn't come out to be true, means if it's false, then it will print minor. Let's implement this example now. We have this example over here where the variable name is age, whose value is 25. And we are checking the condition, age is greater than 18. So this condition comes out to be true, means 25 is greater than 18. That is why it is printing adult. In the same way, if I change the value here, I'll write here 10, and the result changes accordingly. We have approached the end of this lecture. These are the references, and this is the program link. That's all for this lecture.